and just not the product, but the product life cycle.
ठीक है.
So take the product life cycle. कब माल के बारे में सोचा आपने, माल कब बनाया, शिप कब किया, वो बिका कब, कितना बिका, बाकी कब तक बचा, कितने वेयर हाउस का, टक 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 टक, all of that. And I think last but not the least is one must evaluate where you're over. You have to figure out what is one problem that you can solve. Larger the problem, larger the market, and therefore your total addressable market.
तो यूजली क्या स्ट्रैटेजीज होती है कि मैं जो प्रोडक्ट बना रहा हूँ वो मार्केट के लिए fit
आप सिर्फ अगर अपनी इंडस्ट्री देख रहे हैं और सिर्फ अगर आप कपड़ा देख रहे हैं, सिर्फ कपड़ा देख रहे हैं, तो आप बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो सराउंड होती हैं जिसकी वजह से कपड़ा कंजम्पशन चेंज होगा, वो आप मिस करेंगे. इट इज नेवर अबाउट यू, इट इज अबाउट द चेयर.
आना हो.
जी.
एक तरह से इतना क्लीशे हो चुका है ये, हर कोई बोल रहा है विजन विजन, आप बता ही चुके हो, मगर इस चीज़ को हम एक्शनेबल करें कैसे. कोई ब्रांड चल रहा है तो वो क्या ऐसी चीज़ें कर सकते हैं जिससे कि कंज्यूमर से वो उनका फीडबैक ले सके, और एंड दैट फीडबैक ऑल्सो शुड बी इन पार्ट.
इट्स नॉट नेसेसरी दैट कंज्यूमर से आप पूछेंगे और वो आपको बताएं. दिस इज समथिंग आई थिंक इज द पावर. आई हैव सीन मेनी लीडर्स having a great idea and trying to slap that idea on consumer, and that doesn't work. It may work if you're a genius, but genius happens.
हाँ, I mean, हाँ, हर जगह पे लिखा होता है कि विजन बनाओ, बट कोई बता नहीं रहा है कि विजन का मतलब ये.
Levi's was really struggling. Levi's lost a generation.
So Nidhi Raj, I mean, finally you are here in the podcast, and I'm so happy to get you here because कुछ चीज़ें ऐसी हैं which मेरे लिए बड़ी अनइमेजिनेबल हैं आपके बारे में. ऑफ कोर्स इतने सारे रिकॉर्ड्स हैं आपके नाम पे. यू आर द यंगेस्ट म्यूजिशियन, देन यू आर द यंगेस्ट वीपी, और अभी यू आर द ओनली फैशन डिज़ाइनर दैट आई नो has achieved a CEO position in a big corporate firm. So मेरा ये जो पूरा पॉडकास्ट है इसका इंटेंशन एक ही है कि how can we learn that how a product designer, what kind of mentality उनकी थी जिसकी वजह से he could achieve a CEO's position, and what is the job of a CEO, how do we create a product market fit, and what are the finer nuances of businesses जो हम लोगों को, जो usually brands को पता नहीं होती या young entrepreneurs को पता नहीं होती, and finally we get to know कि brands बंद होते जा रहे हैं. ठीक है. So my first question is, what is a CEO mentality?
Great, thank you, Gaurav. First of all, I think what I've learned in the last couple of years of doing this job is that it is never about you, it is about the chair. And आपने जो क्वेश्चन पूछा कि सीईओ का रोल क्या होता है, I think the leader at the top, the key role of the leader is the keeper of the culture. So that's the most important thing. So how do you build the culture to get to the mission that you have collectively decided? I think the second most important role of the leader, and leaders have many names: CEO, head of function, head of department, head of the company, etc. I think another key role of the leader at any position level is that how do you build a vision. आप क्या विजन बिल्ड करते हैं, और उस विजन को बिल्ड करने के बाद आप कैसे जितने लोग आपके साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, इंटरनल या एक्सटर्नल, चाहे आपके कंपनी के अंदर हो या कंपनी के बाहर हो. कंपनी के बाहर कस्टमर्स होते हैं एक साइड पे और सप्लायर्स होते हैं एक साइड पे. सब लोगों को हाउ डू यू मेक श्योर दैट यू मेक देम अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाट इज इन इट फॉर देम टू अचीव दिस विजन, राइट? एंड इट्स नॉट इजी बिकॉज एवरीबडी
And you're saying what is in it for them?
For them.
Okay.
And therefore, everybody will come together to achieve that vision. Because journey is always, it's never easy. There will be potholes, you will get distracted, तकलीफें आएंगी, market ऊपर नीचे होगा, उस टाइम पे आपको एक साथ डटे रहना है, तो उसके लिए मुझे लगता है एक विजन बहुत ज़रूरी है, और उस विजन को सब के लिए बताना ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि उस विजन में उनका
फायदा क्या
फायदा क्या है और उनके लिए क्या है इस विजन में। जब ये विजन अचीव होगा तो उनकी जीत कैसे होगी। इट शुड नॉट बी जस्ट योर जीत और द ब्रांड जीत, आई थिंक। एंड इट्स नॉट, it's a very complex things because human beings are very different, right? Suppliers are different, customers are different. I think that's the key task in my opinion. So CEO for me is a culture keeper.
कल्चर कीपर। अभी आपने एक बात करी कि सीईओ को विजन बनाना होता है।
जी।
एक तरह से इतना क्लीशे हो चुका है, ये हर कोई बोल रहा है विजन विजन विजन। विजन क्या है?
uh,
हाँ, आई मीन
very
हाँ, हर
interesting.
जगह पे
Yeah.
लिखा होता है कि विजन बनाओ, बट कोई बता नहीं रहा है कि विजन का मतलब ये है।
I think, and you're right. Vision has become a sort of a very cliche statement, but I think it's also that simple. I think we try to make it sound very complicated. It is not. A vision is an end goal
एंड गोल, हाँ
that you want to achieve,
हाँ
and vision has couple of elements, right? So the element of vision is that it needs to be large enough so that it create an impact on a large number of people who associate with you, right? Whether it
करेक्ट।
is customer or internal stakeholder. So it should be able to create certain value, and and therefore it's an end game, and there is a journey which is a strategy that you build to achieve that vision.
करेक्ट।
Yeah.
ओके, सो इट्स अ एंड गेम। So you want to take your brand to a certain place, right? So आप जब उस जगह के बारे में सोचते हो, तो उस जगह को सोचने के क्राइटेरियाज क्या है? क्या इज इट रेवेन्यू, और इज इट मेकिंग अ डिफरेंस,
Sure.
और इज इट, आई मीन व्हाट
Yeah,
इज इट?
absolutely. So I think there are two things in a business. When you start a business, there is a vision and a mission, right? And it's very academic. So vision, I think, is about creating an impact, and mission is generally qualitative and quantitative. So mission is mostly quantitative, that this is what your revenue should be, this is your size, etc., and this is the time period that you'll achieve a mission.
करेक्ट।
Vision essentially is slightly more perennial and long term, and it is essentially about making a difference or creating an impact.
करेक्ट।
So that's the difference between vision and mission. I think business should start with a vision and they'll build missions, and mission should be short term, 3 years, and every 3 years your mission has to, be rewritten.
Evolve, okay. All right, so I understood. End goal usually is making an impact, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if you don't make an impact, you won't create value.
Give me an example.
There are several examples. I'll take some easy examples because I am hugely impressed, and like most of us, there is nothing original about that, about Steve Jobs, right? So if you look at it, बहुत आसान है स्टीव जॉब को समझना, क्योंकि उनके बारे में इतना कुछ लिखा गया है, इतनी स्टोरीज हैं, इतनी कहानियाँ हैं, और हमारे ऐसे लोगों के लिए बहुत प्रेरणा मिलती है उनसे। तो अब मैं बहुत उनका बहुत पुराना एक वीडियो देख रहा था और बड़ा प्रभावित हुआ मैं उससे। तो उसमें देख रहा था कि वो 1983 में 1983 में एक अपनी कंपनी को एड्रेस कर रहे थे, या किसी मीटिंग में एड्रेस कर रहे थे। वो बोल रहे थे कि पीपल बाय CDs or the music because they have already sampled something,
Okay,
and that sampling machine is radio.
got that.
तो क्योंकि रेडियो है, रेडियो पे गाना आता है, हमको गाना अच्छा लगता है, तो हम म्यूजिक स्टूडियो जाते हैं, हमको पता है कि कौन सा एल्बम लेना है, हम जाके वो एल्बम खरीद लेते हैं।
Correct.
बट उस जमाने में कंप्यूटर ऐसे नहीं बिकते थे, राइट? कंप्यूटर कैसे बिकते थे? आप कंप्यूटर बनाएंगे, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन को शिप करेंगे, आपकी अपनी दुकानें भी नहीं होती थी, रिटेल वाज नॉट इवन देयर, इट वाज जस्ट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, राइट? सो देयर वाज लॉजिस्टिक, वो डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर के यहाँ पहुंचेगा, फिर अगर कस्टमर आया, उसने धूल वूल झाड़ा, एक कंप्यूटर देखा कि ठीक अच्छा लगा, खरीद लिया। 1883 में उन्होंने बोला कि वी नीड अ रेडियो स्टेशन।
Okay. To sell computers.
to sell computers. And he said that we need to build our own radio station. I don't know how to build it, but we have to build our own radio station. Now, I think what he said, that we will be able to send tones over the phone and somebody will be able to download it, maybe play with our software for a day or so for free. Then he can just, swipe his visa and buy this. None of this technology was available or even in the realm
Okay.
of consciousness of humanity that this can become true. Now, a lot of people would have thought, how stupid is this, right?
Correct.
सबने बोला कि आप पागल आदमी है. But I think a vision needs to be brave and bold. Of course, it needs to be based on certain way you look at the world, the way the world is moving, and to do that, I think human awareness is very critical. तो और उससे एक बड़ी अच्छी चीज़ मुझे ये समझ में आई, और आप स्टीव जॉब के काफ़ी वीडियोस देखेंगे तो उसमें वो हमेशा किसी न किसी का एग्जाम्पल देते हैं,
जी, सोनी,
अलग अलग इंडस्ट्री का, सोनी का, नाइकी का, सम रेवोल्यूशंस एक्सेट्रा. उससे ये भी बात होता है कि वो बहुत अवेयर इंसान थे. तो ही वॉज नॉट कंज्यूम्ड बाय हिज इंडस्ट्री ओनली, but he would also interact with multiple different industry, multiple different people. I don't know how many friends he had, but then of course सरस्वती का उन पे काफ़ी वो था.
इंडिया भी आए थे स्पिरिचुअलिटी के लिए, नीम करोली बाबा.
Absolutely. हाँ, नीम करोली बाबा etc. So I think he also, maybe he's traveled a lot, so he's seen world. So ये सब बहुत ज़रूरी एलिमेंट है विजन बिल्ड करने के लिए.
ठीक है, ठीक है. तो आप कह रहे हो
Awareness.
Human, you said human.
So I said just study human beings, right?
Okay.
So there are multiple, I would say examples of that. कि आप सिर्फ अगर अपनी इंडस्ट्री देख रहे हैं और सिर्फ मतलब अगर आप कपड़ा बेच रहे हैं और सिर्फ कपड़ा देख रहे हैं, तो आप बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो सराउंड होती हैं जिसकी वजह से कपड़ा कंजम्पशन चेंज होगा, वो आप मिस कर जाएंगे. तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि आप देखिए कि लोग कहाँ खाना खा रहे हैं या कहाँ पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं, कल्चरल कॉन्टेक्स्ट कैसे चेंज हो रहा है, जनरेशनल मिथ्स जो ब्रेक हो रहे हैं, तो वो बहुत ज़रूरी है. सो आई थिंक विजन बिल्ड करने के लिए एक लार्जर स्कोप, looking at multiple different things is very important.
Okay. So one is vision building, and then one brand which already has a vision, and then they are trying to appoint someone as a CEO.
Sure.
So obviously वो alignment होना चाहिए CEO का उस brand के vision के साथ, और a CEO comes in और वो उस vision के अंदर कुछ iteration करते हैं या उसको कुछ how does this happen? Because CEOs might not be making the vision, they might be keeping the vision, are the culture keeper as you say, but they might not be making the vision.
Yeah.
तो ऐसे situation में if you are given a job at a place where the vision does not aligns with your personal vision,
Sure.
then difficult to work there.
Yeah, very easy. I think there is no personal vision. I think and that's where the failure happens. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जब लोग brand identity या brand का जो मकसद है, जो प्रॉब्लम वो कंज्यूमर के लिए सॉल्व करना चाहते हैं, अगर वो आप छेड़ सकें, that itself tells you that the vision was not solid enough on one side.
छेड़ सकेगा मतलब
अगर आप बोल रहे हैं कि मेरा ब्रांड एक सर्टन टाइप ऑफ प्रोडक्ट बनाता है, एक सर्टन टाइप ऑफ कंज्यूमर का प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करता है, और फिर कोई आए और उसको चेंज कर दे बहुत आसानी से, तो वो आपको that itself means that the vision was not strong enough, right?
Okay.
If it's so easily changeable, I mean, one of the things that I always ask in my marketing meeting is कि अगर कोई हमको क्रिएटिव दिखाता है तो हम बोलते हैं अगर उस पे से हमारे ब्रांड का नाम हटा किसी और ब्रांड का नाम डाल दो और पास हो जाए, which means it's not unique enough, right? And therefore you're not creating value for consumer. Similarly, vision. So on one side is that. Second, I think one of the biggest undoing of leaders could be trying to challenge the vision, the written vision of the brand for because it just doesn't align to their,
Okay.
one. However, having said that, I think we live in a changing world, right? So vision should be evaluated if you're taking over a new role, and it should be judged if it is fertile enough or not. And then I think it's important and critical to be able to also talk to the organization. I'll give you one example. Uh, Chip Berg, who took over Levi's in 2009 or 10, when he joined the company, and he just retired, so it is in his last letter to the organization, and it's a famous letter now. It's been doing rounds on the internet. He went to about 25, 30 key people in the organization the moment he joined, and he asked them three questions. I'll try to remember all three. I think the first thing he asked is, what are the things that you don't want to change? Second thing he asked, I think, what are the things that you would like to change, and how can I help? I don't remember it exactly, but I think this was the essence, because when I read that, it made a lot of sense, and I tried to do it with my team.
Correct.
So I think, and if you remember, Levi's was really struggling. Levi's lost a generation. Levi's lost the first decade of this millennium, complete consumer, and it was Chip Berg who came and really transformed the organization. So I think he built new vision for the company, which was aligned to the heritage of the brand,
Correct.
to the essence of the brand. But he just sharpened the vision and made it more new age, more apt for the newer consumer and the younger consumers. And it really worked magic. But it started with him coming and being extremely humble and saying कि मुझे जो लोग हैं उनसे पूछना है, पार्टनर से पूछना है, जो लीवाइस चला रहे हैं, जो लोग वहाँ काम कर रहे हैं, and then also experts in the outside. And he was an expert himself. And then it was sum total. So to be able to challenge vision, I think one of the most important things is to have humility. और जो मैंने पहले आपको बोला था, it's not about you, it is about the chair.
Okay.
So that consciousness is very important. That humility is very critical. कि आप important नहीं हैं, कुर्सी important है,
ठीक है, और उसकी जिम्मेदारी है,
उसकी जिम्मेदारी
आप वो जिम्मेदारी लेने के लिए बैठे हो वहाँ पर.
जी बिल्कुल.
ठीक है, got that. So this is about the the CEO's role and vision building. So आपने जो अपने करियर की शुरुआत की एज अ डिजाइनर शुरू की, फैशन डिजाइनर, where you were developing product, right? And उस टाइम पर क्या स्ट्रैटेजीज होती थी आपकी जिससे कि आप एक प्रोडक्ट मार्केट फिट को हासिल करते थे? तो यूजुअली क्या स्ट्रैटेजीज होती है कि मैं जो प्रोडक्ट बना रहा हूँ वो मार्केट के लिए फिट हो?
ओके, सो ये उस समय की बात बताऊं या अभी?
देखिए, उस समय जो भी आपने किया, और उसके बाद आपका एवोल्यूशन हुआ, तो नाउ व्हेन यू लुक बैक एट इट, ठीक है, now you might be doing some changes उसके अंदर. यार, I wish I would have added this or whatever.
Sure.
So maybe it might be you looking at a CEO back at the designer, and then you are talking about कि product market fit कैसे बनाना है.
Yeah, so I think when I started my career as a young boy, curiosity बहुत ज़्यादा थी. तो आई डोंट थिंक उसमें मैच्योरिटी थी ये समझने की कि प्रोडक्ट मार्केट फिट क्या होता है. हमको बस इनोवेशन करना था. सो हमको नई चीज़ें बनानी थी, एक्सेट्रा. So that was the zeal. But I think over the years I learned that result orientation is very important.
ठीक है.
तो क्या होता था कि हम और हमारे बहुत सारे मित्र, जब हम डिज़ाइन ग्रेजुएट हुए और डिज़ाइन करना शुरू किया, तो हमें एक्शन ओरिएंटेशन बहुत ज़्यादा था. हम ना कुछ नई चीज़ें करना चाहते थे, बट उसका रीज़न नहीं था, पता था कि क्यों करना चाहते हैं, राइट? सो इट वाज जस्ट क्योंकि हमको अच्छा लगता था तो हमको खुशी होती थी. बट आई थिंक ओवर द इयर्स वी रियलाइज दैट देयर इज नो पॉइंट बीइंग अ रेबल विदाउट अ कॉज. It is important to look at consumer and work backwards. rather than have an idea and try to sell that idea to the consumer. I think that causes a lot of misery because products and innovation have to solve a problem. So look at a consumer tension, एक कंज्यूमर प्रॉब्लम देखिए, और वो देखने के लिए जो मैंने पहले भी आपको बताया कि ट्रैवल ज़रूरी है, लोगों से मिलना ज़रूरी है, एक्सेट्रा, वो देखिए और फिर उसको सॉल्व करने की कोशिश कीजिए. आई हैव सीन मैनी leaders having a great idea and trying to slap that idea on consumer, and that doesn't work. It may work if you're a genius, but genius happens once in a while. I think process is important. So try to solve a consumer problem and then work backwards to build capabilities, innovation, resources, discipline, etc., to be able to deliver that consistently.
तो आप कह रहे हो कि प्रोडक्ट मार्केट फिट करने के लिए शुरुआत आपके स्टूडियो से नहीं कंज्यूमर से हो रही है.
100%.
So you read the consumer, figured out their lifestyle, और मे बी फैशन का लाइफस्टाइल नहीं, शायद किसी और चीज़ का लाइफस्टाइल देख रही हो और वहाँ से कुछ आपको एक प्रॉब्लम दिखाई.
Absolutely, because fashion क्या है? Fashion is a solution to a lifestyle, right?
Correct.
So fashion is done to solve a certain aspect of lifestyle.
Correct.
So yeah, absolutely, I completely agree with you. It has to start with the consumer.
Okay.
And then you have to figure out what is one problem that you can solve. Larger the problem, larger the market, and therefore your total addressable market will be bigger. So, and how do you solve that?
Got that.
And then of course, and then go after building resources and products to solve that problem.
So आप मुझे कुछ examples दे सकते हैं जहाँ पर there was an innovation that was done in a product, but that was actually a resultant of a consumer study.
Oh, absolutely. So there are zillions of successful examples. We are blessed with a industry where so many great things have happened, and right from wrinkle-free shirt, even if it's extremely boring, right? Wrinkle-free shirt जो बना था, जो वो ये solve करने के लिए था कि shirt crush ना हो. Now that's one. Then I think on the product innovation side,
Stain-free kids wear.
Stain-free. So for example, I'll tell you, I had an opportunity to work on kids wear project for some time, and when we were starting that project, and this was during COVID, so we went and discussed, because we realized that the consumer is not the kid. Kids are not the consumers. The consumers are the parents, right?
So they're the customers. They're the customers. Consumer is the kid.
Are the kids, right?
Yeah.
So the power to buy lies with the parents.
Parents, yeah.
So, and therefore they become our customers, right? And therefore it's important to understand their insecurities, correct? So then we went and interviewed about 1,200, 1,300 parents, and some physical, some Google forms, etc. So, and then we figured that one of the greatest insecurity that the parents had कि बच्चे बड़े हो जाते हैं, implying कि कपड़े छोटे हो जाते हैं, right? So you spend money and then
पहना तो उसने 3 महीने ही है.
3 महीने पहना और बड़ा हो गया, correct? Now the point is, and therefore kids wear market is always struggling with pricing, right? Because nobody wants to spend money, right? कि यार इतना पैसा खर्च करो और 3 महीने के बाद ये हो जाएगा. और अनफॉर्चुनेटली हम लोग हैंड डाउन वाले कल्चर से बाहर आ गए हैं.
बच्चे भी तो एक हो रहे हैं, तो फिर हैंड डाउन करेंगे कैसे?
हाँ, अदरवाइज मतलब चाचा भतीजा चलता रहता था.
हाँ, वो जॉइंट फैमिलीज वाला भी.
हाँ, so that's something that we realized. So we went back and said कि we need to create. So this was a very easy brief to write, right? And as I told you in the beginning, that the briefs have to be stupid enough to be powerful enough. So we went back to write that यार हमको कपड़े ऐसे बनाने हैं जो बड़े हो बच्चों के साथ,
ठीक है,
right? Obviously it doesn't make logical sense, right? Because इतने सालों से fortunately we had a great CEO, Vishak Kumar, who is with ABFRL, and then he really challenged us and he said, of course, please go ahead and make it. I think that's also very important. You need to have a culture where the leadership is able to challenge you to go ahead and make a great product first.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So honestly, I was also slightly in disbelief. ये कैसे हो सकता है? But we went back. I think we did figured how to do it, and we created a few options, and that became the main marketing campaign, the product of the whole project. So I think that started, and then I'm sure that once you do version 1, version 2, version 3, you can keep perfecting it. But it's important to have a great idea, have a powerful idea, and then go ahead and build products. Even if it's not perfect, ship it, and then keep improving it.
Got
So
it.
that's another example. So I think there have been many examples of what you just asked.
Okay, so like having an innovation where which starts from a consumer insight कि हाँ भाई
Absolutely.
ये problem आपने
Yes.
so there is something called latent need जो consumer को पता नहीं होता.
हाँ.
Latent need क्या है और अगर मुझे ये जानना है as a brand owner क्या कर सकता हूँ मैं?
जैसे मैंने आपको बोला कि कंज्यूमर के साथ बहुत टाइम स्पेंड कीजिए. करेक्ट. आई मीन उसका कोई रिप्लेसमेंट नहीं है. ऐसा कोई फॉर्मूला नहीं है जो आपको लेटेंट नीड बता दे.
जी.
नाउ आई टेल यू वन.
नहीं latent need है क्या?
सो लेटेंट नीड वो नीड है जो कंज्यूमर डिफाइन नहीं कर सकता है. सो आई गिव यू वन एग्जांपल, वन स्टोरी वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. तो इन 2006 इफ आई रिमेंबर करेक्टली, एप्पल लॉन्च्ड आईपॉड,
ठीक
राइट.
है.
सो उस समय हो क्या रहा था कि म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री डिजिटाइज हो रही थी, राइट. सो MP3 एक्सेट्रा वर हैपनिंग, वी वर गोइंग फ्रॉम CDs एक्सेट्रा. सो उस समय योर स्टेटस को वाज डिफाइंड बाय योर प्लेलिस्ट.
Oh yeah.
कि यार मतलब उसके प्लेलिस्ट में ना ये वाला गाना है, ठीक है, तो वो कूल है. तो उस समय ज़रूरत क्या थी ना, ज़रूरत थी कि एक डिवाइस हो जिसमें आप कुछ 50-60 गाने लेकर अपने साथ घूम सके. द सोनी वॉकमैन रेवोल्यूशन ऑलरेडी हैपेंड अबाउट 10 years ago,
Correct.
राइट. सो ये ज़रूरत थी. तो एक कंपनी होती थी क्रिएटिव टेक्नोलॉजीज इन सिंगापुर. उन्होंने एक डिवाइस बनाया करीब 100 MB, उसमें आप स्टोरेज कर सकते थे. एंड दे एडवर्टाइज कि 100 MB which is about, let's say, about 25 songs, right?
Correct.
And iPod was launched at the same time, and iPod was exactly the same product. Probably creative technology product was far superior.
अच्छा.
But this is the difference between latent need and I think latent need is desire, and then there is an evident need, right? So iPod said 100 songs in your pocket.
Oh, they marketed that thing like that.
Yeah, so it's
अच्छा, उसने दूसरे वाले ने सिर्फ बताया कि इसके अंदर 100 MB है,
correct.
पर इन्होंने उस लेटेंट नीड को एड्रेस किया मार्केटिंग में.
Yeah, so the need was to be able to listen to my 100 songs at any given point of time, right? That was, my desire, right? So that was my need. So I think that's a great example of that. And
In fashion?
so in fashion, I would say, you know, whenever these, like wrinkle free spoke about, जब वो आया उसमें कंज्यूमर को पता नहीं था
Correct.
कि मैं ये कर सकता हूँ. I'll tell you also another great brand, Alan Solly, for example. Now Friday dressing बहुत बड़ा इन्होंने कैंपेन किया था.
Correct.
Now consumer didn't know that at that point of time, I would say that कि मेरी ज़रूरत एक्चुअली कलरफुल कपड़े पहनने की है.
हाँ.
करेक्ट.
हाँ.
पहले क्या होता था, हल्की शर्ट पहनते थे और डार्क ट्राउजर पहनते थे.
हाँ.
Alan Solly revolutionized by doing light color trouser and dark color shirt. So they were selling maroon, yellow, sky blue, bright blue shirts with light color trousers. So that was the revolution. And I think why that was there, I think the brand went and looked at the new corporate revolution and said the consumers are spending far more time working and very little time at home. And therefore what happened is to go to party or go to party मतलब दोस्तों से मिलना या क्लब जाना या going for a drink etc. They didn't have time to go to home and then change and come back.
Correct.
And then there was this need which was there, which was very latent, which एक छुपी हुई नीड थी जो समझ नहीं आ रही थी.
शायद कोई ऐसे बता दे कि यार मैं बहुत पक जाता हूँ
करेक्ट.
काम कर करके,
करेक्ट.
पर बता नहीं पा रहा है कि मुझे चाहिए क्या.
Yes.
हाँ, ठीक है.
So Alan Solly did this whole campaign on Friday dressing. They said कि you can wear colorful clothes to office, it's okay.
Okay.
And therefore you can walk into the club or meet friends wearing that same.
Yeah.
So
Not so serious.
Not so serious. So that became the I would say being sexy was being able to wear your office clothes
Correct.
to a party
Correct.
at that point of time. So I think that was a latent need that this brand solved. So that was very interesting.
ओ तो बार बार यही समझ आ रहा है कि चाहे वो सीईओ का विजन मेकिंग हो या कल्चर कीपिंग हो चाहे प्रोडक्ट बनाना हो एवरीथिंग स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम द कंज्यूमर
Absolutely. No, I don't think there is, and that's why I said that, genius can happen once and twice, and where, you are sitting in your lab and you create something which is so unique, and then large number of consumers will consume that. I have known only one thing doing that, that's God. But if you really want to do business, you have to start from consumer. There is no substitute. You have to spend a lot of time with consumer. And today, I think technology allows you to do that far more efficiently than earlier. So,
reaching out to a lot more variety of consumers
absolutely.
to get a okay so even geniuses like Steve Jobs वो भी तो कंज्यूमर की डीप अंडरस्टैंडिंग लेके बैठे थे
बिल्कुल.
तभी वो आईपॉड बना रहे हैं या तो तभी जो भी चीज़ वो कर रहे थे आई थिंक इट वाज ऑल
Steve Jobs always came back from the consumer. If you look at many of his lectures or launches, etc., the wit that he had, he always looked at consumer and came back and worked backwards. So famously, वो उनकी कहानी है कि पहले लोग बोलते थे कि हमारे पास ग्रेट टेक्नोलॉजी है और हम ये कंज्यूमर को दे देंगे. बट स्टीव जॉब ने बोला कि नहीं, कंज्यूमर को टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं चाहिए, कंज्यूमर को एक्सपीरियंस और सर्विस चाहिए, एंड देयरफॉर वी हैव टू अडैप्ट द टेक्नोलॉजी टू बी एबल टू डू दैट.
करेक्ट
So yeah, I mean, spending time with the consumers are so critical.
got that now since we're talking about so much about consumers तो ये जो कंज्यूमर फीडबैक है या कस्टमर फीडबैक है ये कितना ज़रूरी है ये तो आप बता ही चुके हो मगर इस चीज़ को हम एक्शनेबल करें कैसे कोई ब्रांड चल रहा है तो वो क्या ऐसी चीज़ें कर सकता है जिससे कि कंज्यूमर से वो उनका फीडबैक ले सके और एंड दैट फीडबैक ऑल्सो शुड बी इम्पार्शियल नॉट दैट कि कोई सीईओ ऑफ अ कंपनी इज आस्किंग फॉर फीडबैक तो मैं कहूँगा अच्छा ही है
करेक्ट.
ठीक है तो उनका एक इम्पार्शियल फीडबैक ले सके और कैसे हम उस फीडबैक को फिर इनकॉर्पोरेट करते हैं क्या सारे फीडबैक को इनकॉर्पोरेट करना चाहिए हाउ डू यू कलेक्ट फीडबैक वन and how do you evaluate those feedback
Sure.
and then incorporate
No, absolutely. I think when we talk about feedback, we look at it in a very linear fashion. We believe that we have to go and ask the consumer to get feedback. So I think which is one way of doing it, that's for sure. And you rightly said that feedback needs to be looked at dispassionately. It should be given also dispassionately, but it is not that easy. So there are tools available. There are agencies available who can create aided, non-aided research methodology and get you very impartial feedback. So that's one. Number two, I think I'll tell you one example, and it's a very recent one. So I've been, one of the things that I do, and I've done it all my life, is that look at consumers and look at human beings. जो मैं बोलता हूँ मतलब more than consumer, look at
ठीक है
जनता को देखिए.
ठीक है
तो जब मेरा निफ्ट का एग्ज़ाम होना था तो मैंने 1.5 महीना वो दिल्ली में ब्लू लाइन बसें होती थी तो 5 रुपए का टिकट लेके सबसे आखिरी वाली सीट पे विंडो में बैठ जाता था फॉर टू गो टू द एंड ऑफ द दैट बस जर्नी एंड टू कम बैक. आई डिड दैट एवरी डे ट्वाइस for about 30-40 days. That was my only training to join NIF.
Okay.
Because मुझे समझ में आया कि ऑब्जर्वेशन जरूरी है. किसी ने बता दिया कि ऑब्जर्वेशन जरूरी है. अब वो पता नहीं था कि ऑब्जर्वेशन होता क्या है. So I would say ऑब्जर्वेशन बहुत जरूरी है. And it stands true today. So I was going. So what I am noticing is that there are so many Diwali parties that is happening suddenly, right? Diwali, like wedding, this phenomena happened with wedding about 10 years ago in this country. So wedding was very normal. उसके बाद फिर ये Bollywood wedding, वो wedding, ये wedding शुरू हुआ. Destination wedding, etc. फिर then wedding became a 10-day event, right?
Correct.
And therefore it expanded the market. So it expanded consumption now, which means कि आप सलवार वो क्या शेरवानी तो 10 दिन नहीं पहन सकते और आपके दोस्त भी नहीं पहन सकते. So the whole market got suddenly expanded. I'm seeing that with festive in this country. Now, it's not necessary that consumer से आप पूछेंगे और वो आपको बताएं. This is something, I think this is the power of observation.
ठीक है.
And therefore I said you have to be in the market around and surround yourself with consumers. So we've been noticing that suddenly there is this whole insecurity of people where they want to throw a Diwali party. कि यार हमारे neighbor ने throw कर दिया, हमको भी throw करना है, right? And then there's a fight on the dates.
आई थिंक बच्चों के साथ भी यही हो रहा है कि मेरे बच्चे का उसके बच्चे का वहाँ
Absolutely. The amount of birthday celebration that happens is crazy, right?
yes, yes.
And all of this gives you opportunity. So, and you have to figure that how do you stay true to your brand value and participate in the opportunity that such changes, such cultural changes present to you. So I think that's another, and I would say that's a latent feedback. So it's there,
Yeah.
but you can't ask.
So you were able to identify that by your power of observation. So maybe you're not even talking to a consumer, but
Yeah.
just observing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a need that is evolving, and you know, to be able to observe cultural changes is very critical, and that gives you the power to be able to participate in an opportunity and have a slight bit of a early mover advantage.
Got that. So are you also saying that those bus trips that you were doing
Yeah.
उस time पर
जी.
और जो एक नए स्किल आपने उस बस बिकॉज यू वांटेड टू गिव निफ्ट का एग्जाम वो जो नया स्किल डेवलप किया वो भी एक फाउंडिंग ब्लॉक था इन यू बिकमिंग अ सीईओ समडे क्योंकि काम तो वही हो रहा है अभी भी.
हाँ बिल्कुल. तो मैं हाँ, सो आई थिंक फंडामेंटल्स डोंट चेंज, राइट? वो तो मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ कि फंडामेंटल्स नहीं बदलते हैं, टूल्स बदल जाते हैं, टाइम बदल जाता है, बट आई थिंक fundamentals don't change. So looking at consumer observing is very critical. Also, I think, you know, what influences, obviously थोड़े, you know, जब आप experience होते हैं थोड़ा तो आपको समझ में आता है कि you can start anticipating even earlier, right? So
because that is your craft now.
correct. And then when you work, you get to meet great people, you interact with them, you talk to them, you learn so many things from your seniors, bosses, etc., who have far higher experiences, and that's the journey that gets passed down. So I think government policies, for example, has a huge impact on the way consumptions would move, right?
For example?
So for example, let's say the new policy has made it slightly difficult for us to import shoes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So it'll have an impact. And I think it's all to do with the job creation within the country. So a lot of factors are coming in.
Got that.
I think the landscape of shoe market in the country will change. So knowing that and catching it early is very critical.
Okay.
तो
सीईओ को अखबार भी पढ़ना होता है डेली?
बहुत ज़रूरी है सर, अखबार बहुत पढ़ना पड़ता है.
Okay. तो आप अखबार पढ़ते हो या आप you watch news from another sources?
No, so I subscribe to few news. Normal newspaper, like you have to read Financial Times, you have to read.
So you get a bar at home?
On mobile.
अच्छा, on cell phone. ठीक है. हाँ, वो पूछ रहा हूँ कि भाई ऐसा ठीक है तो आप
बट अगर आप अखबार पढ़ सके तो मुझे लगता है बहुत बढ़िया है, बिकॉज उसका एक टैक्टाइल फील होता है, स्मेल होती है वो, तो that gives, I think that is something that there's a beauty in that. But I think today it's very difficult because you want to finish reading the news while you're on the drive, right? So आप गाड़ी में बैठे अपनी न्यूज़ खत्म कर लिया, अपने numbers देख लिए, कल का धंधा कितना वो देख लिया, any new policies that are coming वो देख लिया. So I think you use your non-productive time to do all of this, so that you can use the rest of the day getting immersed in the business.
Got that. तो आप ये भी कह रहे हो कि जो सीईओ है उसको एक तो करंट हैपनिंग्स जो है जिसका फ्यूचर पे इम्प्लीकेशन होने वाला है, सो यू नीड टू ग्रैब दैट ऑन दैट डे, राइट?
Absolutely.
ठीक है, गॉट दैट. नाउ ऑल्सो आप तब से कह रहे हैं कि कल्चरल शिफ्ट जो होते हैं उसकी वजह से कंज्यूमर इम्पैक्ट होता है. in terms of changing their lifestyle, developing new desires.
Yeah.
यहाँ पर मैं ट्रेंड्स को लेके आने वाला हूँ कि एकदम से ओवरसाइज का ट्रेंड आया जा रहा है. यू थिंक ऑफ स्ट्रीट वेयर एंड ओवरसाइज कम्स इन एंड देन एवरीबडी स्टार्ट्स मेकिंग ओवरसाइज. सो जो एक ब्रांड है उसके लिए ट्रेंड स्टडी करना कितना जरूरी है और वो कैसे कर सकता है ट्रेंड स्टडी.
Sure. So, जैसे आपने ओवरसाइज की बात की ना, ओवरसाइज didn't start today. Oversize started in 2019, right? Why it started 2019? Although product was not available, I think the COVID came. Now, and I think, one of the things that I've learned the hard way is that there is very little substitute to experience.
ओके.
तो आप या यंग एंटरप्रेन्योर हैं या आप शुरू कर रहे हैं, इट इज़ ऑलवेज गुड टू गेट अ मेंटोर जिनको एक्सपीरियंस हो, राइट? बिकॉज वंस यू सीन मल्टीपल साइकिल्स ऑफ फैशन, देन यू विल बी एबल टू एंटिसिपेट,
करेक्ट.
राइट? You might not get 100%, but you will get about 70-80%.
एंड यू विल डिस्कार्ड थिंग्स व्हिच आर नॉन वर्किंग.
Absolutely. The
With your
फैड जो
experience,
है
हाँ,
वो आप
वो
बोल
discard
सकते हैं
करते
यार ये
जाओ,
अभी
ठीक.
फैड है, you know,
शुरू से स्टार्ट करोगे तो वो सब गलतियां तुम भी करोगे ही.
आप करेंगे.
ठीक है.
तो वो अवॉइड करने के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है कि मेंटोर रखिए और जिनको एक्सपीरियंस है, जो ये कर चुके हैं, उनसे बात कीजिए. और बड़ा आसान है आजकल मेंटोर रखना, लोग शेयर करना चाहते हैं. तो so when this started, it was I think it was very simple to understand that work from home होगा तो लोग कंफर्ट में रहना चाहेंगे. So functionality became comfort. उसके पहले athleisure was a big trend, right?
Correct.
So fitness was a big trend. Now fitness came from where? Fitness came as a retaliation to corporate burnout, right? So
सीरियसली.
so Friday dressing
हाँ हाँ.
was so basically staying late in office became sexy,
ओ यार.
right?
ये कब की बात बता रहे हैं?
This is, let's say, late 90s, right? So staying late in office was the new sexy. कि, I don't have time to go home. I've just come from work and I'm having a drink at the bar.
ठीक है.
So that means I work in corporate, I'm very well paid. Now what happened
और
is,
बॉस पे अच्छा असर पड़ेगा. बॉस भी तुम्हें देखेगा कि वो 10 बजे जाता है, रात को 12 बजे जाता है.
so that's what it became. And then what happened? Burnout started happening. Then this whole revolution came कि नहीं, exercise करना चाहिए, mindfulness होना चाहिए, well-being, and that came from there. And athleisure became the new thing, stretch, and it created opportunity for companies like Lycra, etc., who brought in stretch in a big way. A lot of brands emerged suddenly. I think sportswear, footwear brands saw massive growth because they diversified into sportswear clothing. And then COVID came, and this whole functionality movement went into comfort. So comfort was very important. The organic became important. Sustainability became important, etc. Consumers started saying, "What is this all for?" Right? So, and therefore the oversize, etc. So I think अगर आप mentor रखें, so then they will be able to at least anticipate whether it is temporary or permanent, how long will it survive, etc. So like for example today, if you look at oversized t-shirt trend, in my opinion, it's already dying.
Okay.
But that's a big statement to make. But I think whenever anything goes to the seconds market and starts selling at $100,
Correct.
you mean that is over, because human beings need variety. हमको change चाहिए. हम सिर्फ चेंज के भूखे हैं, राइट? सो आपके कबर्ड में भी अभी 10 ओवरसाइज टी शर्ट होंगे, तो अब अगली ओवरसाइज टी शर्ट शायद
नहीं खरीद.
So I think a newness is required and something else would emerge, in my opinion.
तो एक बात मैं पूछना चाह रहा था कि ये ओवरसाइज का इस बात से कोई रिलेशनशिप है कि सब लोग घर पे थे और उनके
बिल्कुल.
साइज बढ़ गए.
No, I don't think so. I think comfort became important,
अच्छा.
and loose fit and comfort. So everybody was wearing loose, everybody was wearing comfortable clothing, and then there was a whole marketing idea of calling it oversize. So then it became कि if it's an oversize, which means that you like comfort, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was the whole idea.
यहाँ पर जहाँ पे आपने कहा ना कि मार्केटिंग ऑफ कॉलिंग इट ओवरसाइज और बॉयफ्रेंड जीन्स एट, सो समटाइम्स हाउ आई एम सीइंग इट कि कुछ मार्केटिंग के कुछ ऐसे कीवर्ड्स आते हैं एंड जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ दैट कीवर्ड अ न्यू जार्गन पूरी प्रोडक्ट लाइन ही नई दिखने लगती है. फॉर एग्जांपल कॉर्ड सेट, वो प्रिंटेड कुर्ते और पजामे हैं और उसको कॉर्ड सेट कह के बेचा जा रहा है. ठीक है, और ये पहले भी होता था, बट नाउ wearing a cord set, even if you're looking like you're wearing a night suit, but still because it's a cord set, it's not that matching kurti. And तो आपको लगता है कि marketing can play a game
Yeah.
which can alter the perception of consumers seeing the same product differently.
Oh, absolutely. That's the job of marketing. That's the essential job of marketing. I think that's the role of marketing, right? To be able to present something in a more desirable manner. तो एक नॉर्मल चीज़ है और एक प्रोडक्ट है. मार्केटिंग का रोल ये होता है कि आप उसको कैसे लोगों को दिखाएं कि ये आपके लिए ज़रूरी है और अच्छा है. So that's role of marketing. But I am a strong believer that has to start from product. First, you have to have a great product, a product that truly solves a consumer tension, and then you build it through marketing and take it to the consumer, etc. So yeah, so I agree with you. I mean, marketing का ये रोल होता है कि अब quad set इतना बताइए, बोलिए कि वीट खराब है क्यों ना अच्छा है, हमारे पुराने फल खराब है, एवोकाडो अच्छा है, तो फिर आप 500 रुपये में एवोकाडो बेच सकते हैं.
Correct.
So marketing job is to create elevate the product and be able to sell consumer same product at a higher price and get more wallet share from the consumer.
Got that. So innovative marketing technique, ऐसी कोई भी मार्केटिंग टेक्निक जहाँ पर आपने कोई प्रोडक्ट बनाया बट उस प्रोडक्ट का जो एक्चुअल कम्युनिकेशन था लोगों तक, वो किसी इनोवेशन के थ्रू या किसी मेथड के थ्रू लोगों तक पहुंच सका. तो ऐसा कोई मार्केटिंग टेक्निक इफ यू कैन रिमेंबर.
So जैसे आपने बताया इन्फ्लुएंसर मार्केटिंग, आई थिंक दिस ऑल स्टार्टेड लॉन्ग टाइम अगो एंड आई वांट टू टॉक अबाउट दैट अ लिटिल बिट. आई थिंक इन्फ्लुएंसर मार्केटिंग इज on its deathbed now. Absolutely, I don't think brands are getting any value out of that.
Seriously?
Oh, absolutely. It's a complete. I think it's a lot of waste of money. But it was something that drove a lot of brand to huge success. For example, Gymshark. Gymshark was started by a 16, 17-year-old boy in London, and it became one of the most valuable brand. And I think that was the very initial few, I'm not sure if the first, but initial few early influencer marketing techniques. So he basically made a lot of athleisure products, right? One of the most famous product that he made was the Lux Velvet, quad set.
Quad set.
Jogger and a jacket.
ठीक है.
And then because he was himself, he used to work out a lot, and he was a fitness freak, So he was friends with a lot of celebrity fitness trainers.
Got that.
So he started seeding this product with all of his friends. So suddenly overnight, everybody was just wearing Gymshark. In fact, and that was one of the first influencer marketing. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, influencer marketing, you can look at the origin of influencer marketing from Nike. So when Nike, and as we know, that Nike was distributor for Tiger shoes in US.
Correct.
Tiger shoes were great shoes made in Japan, and Phil Knight used to go and buy and sell it. But Japanese way of living. So Japanese said we don't want to overproduction.
Correct.
So this is how much we have. This is how much we can give you.
Correct.
Apparently, this is
Yeah.
what I've read.
Yeah.
Not through very authentic sources, but whatever is available. So then Phil Knight went and created, and I think with Bill Bowerman created Nike shoe and the waffle sole, and there's a whole story around that. And then he started giving this to his athlete friends, and suddenly in the Olympics you were seeing Nike shoes.
Ah.
So there was seeding, etc., and then Nike became very popular. So, so I think that's one. I think where it's changing and where it's evolving is UGC. So user-generated content had become far more valuable today than influencer marketing. Gap is doing some that currently. Gap new campaign is Get Loose, which is and uh, they have taken this.
Uh-huh.
So user generated content. I think Gap is doing. There are many brands who have done that, where you get your consumers to create content for you, right? So that is something which is very powerful, I think, because it becomes authentic, and consumers are now, there's a lot of deficit of trust. So consumers want authentic brands to talk to them. So I think that is something that I'm seeing change. Otherwise, there has been a lot of gimmick, which boost your sales for a certain period of time.
I got that. Okay, so there is a big competition in market कि लोगों को lower cost की चीजें चाहिए
जी
और क्वालिटी भी हाई चाहिए.
हाँ जी
तो कैसे कर सकते हैं, क्या स्ट्रैटेजी होएगी इसकी, क्या प्लानिंग होगी कि गुड क्वालिटी
yeah
एट अ लोअर प्राइस.
I think this is a very you know um, it's a it's a complex question. Why? Because all of us have different understanding of quality and cost both, right? So low quality means what, or high quality means what? High quality doesn't mean that you have high trust, never a mistake, everything is perfect, or high quality means an average okay quality. So therefore I think it's difficult for me to answer.
अच्छा.
But if I take it as a very general way, that take example of, for example, let's say, or if you can give me an example of a
So,
brand where
so-
you think,
so I'll
so we
say-
can contextualize the.
Okay, so let's say I want a good quality shirts. That means the fabric is great cotton.
Which brand, for example?
Let's say Alan Solly.
Okay.
Okay. Alan Solly, and then I also want कि मेरे को इससे कम प्राइस में चाहिए. ठीक है. जो भी उनका, और इस तरह से नए नए ब्रांड्स आते जा रहे हैं जिनको शायद उतना मार्केटिंग कॉस्ट नहीं लग रहा है, जिसकी वजह से दे मे बी एबल टू प्रोड्यूस a certain benchmark quality in terms of the way consumers wear that shirt and feel that shirt, और वो उसको सस्ते में, जैसे मैंने जूडियो की बात की थी कि हाई क्वालिटी दे रहे हो पर साथ में लोअर एक बहुत ही कंपेटिटिव प्राइस पे दे रहे हो.
Sure.
तो इस चीज़ के पीछे क्या स्ट्रैटेजी, मतलब ब्रांड क्या चीज़ें देखता है जिससे कि वो ये अचीव कर पाते हैं? या तो ब्रांड बहुत ही बड़े होते हैं तब वो जाके.
Okay. Or do you want to, or if I've understood your question right, you're saying what are the ways to manage costs better,
Yes.
so that you are able to pass that on to the consumer. I think you've made an assumption that whatever cost efficiency that the business brings passes on to the consumer.
Correct.
Whether it might not be true. So for a model like Zudio, or a model like Max, or a model like H&M, I think that's the quest. The quest is to produce large, produce cheap, and give the benefit to the consumer of price.
ठीक है.
Correct? But it should be acceptable quality, right? So I think the magic happens when you're able to improve your quality and lower your cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that
अब
happen?
वो उसका क्या मंत्र है,
हाँ
करेक्ट?
हाँ
तो देखिए, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि बैड कॉस्ट,
हाँ
राइट? सो आप ना, वन ऑफ द वेज टू डू इट इज टू जस्ट ब्रेक डाउन द कॉस्ट ऑफ योर प्रोडक्ट,
ठीक है
करेक्ट? And just not the product, but the product life cycle.
ठीक है
So take the product life cycle. कब माल के बारे में सोचा आपने, माल कब बनाया, शिप कब किया, वो बिका कब, कितना बिका, बाकी कब तक बचा, कितने दिन तक, वेयर हाउस को टक 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 टक, ऑल ऑफ दैट.
ठीक है
एंड देन सी कि कहाँ पे आपको लगता है कि आप पैसे वेस्ट कर रहे हो.
अच्छा
So
ठीक
for
है
example, let's say the answer might not lie in the product. Answer may lie somewhere else.
और
Correct?
पूरी लाइफ साइकिल में कहीं पर ओके
एक तो वो है. तो आप देखिए कि आपका इन्वेंट्री मैनेजमेंट ठीक नहीं है, तो आप इन्वेंट्री में पैसे बहुत लगाते हैं, देयरफॉर आपका मल्टीप्लायर जो है फ्रॉम प्रोडक्ट कॉस्ट टू एमआरपी ज़्यादा हो जाता है.
जी
या फिर आपके मार्जिन्स बहुत हाई हैं
जी
कि आप just to be able to be at a certain door, you're paying high margins. Maybe your some of your stores throughputs are very bad, and you haven't had the courage to shut them. So I think once you look at the cost distributed across the life cycle of a product, you'll be able to say where there is bad cost and where there is good cost,
ठीक
right?
है हाँ
Where you're getting ripped.
गॉट दैट
Take hard calls.
ओके
Take unemotional, dispassionate hard calls. That's where the tough needs to come through.
ओके
Now, one is that if you bring it down to just product and say, how do we lower the cost of product itself and still improve quality?
करेक्ट
There also, I think planning is a huge aspect. Now, for example, how can you ensure that your factory capacity is utilized more than 95-96%?
ओके या
Most of the problem lies where the factory capacity is stalled but is getting wasted.
Got
You're only
that.
using 50-60% of the capacity.
Got that.
So that comes back to planning. That how do you plan better? How do you innovate on time? How do you do things on time so that the capacity utilization of a factory finally delivers better profits.
गॉट दैट
And I think last but not the least is one must evaluate where you're over engineering.
ओवर इंजीनियरिंग दैट मीन्स व्हाट
So a lot of times what happens is that we assume that consumer needs gold,
हाँ ओके
whereas उसका silver ही चाहिए भाई उसको.
अच्छा
तो consumer is not going to pay you for gold.
ओके ओके
So a lot of times because we're obsessed that हम तो सबसे दुनिया के ऊपर we are the biggest creative
Forces.
क्या बोलते हैं, forces blessing on mankind etc. And therefore it is हमारा responsibility है कि हम मतलब सारे प्रॉब्लम कंज्यूमर के आज ही सॉल्व कर दें.
ठीक है एक ही प्रोडक्ट से
एक ही बार में हैप्पी दिवाली, हैप्पी होली, सरस्वती पूजा सब हो जाए.
बोल
तो so a lot of times I feel that many of us make the mistake of getting seduced by our own creative fantasy
हाँ ठीक है
and over-engineer the product. So sometimes, in fact, that evaluation is also very important.
गॉट दैट
These are three or four things to look at to create higher efficiency, which can flow back into consumer's pocket or flows back into promoter's pocket or stakeholder's pocket, etc.
ओके नाउ वन क्वेश्चन अबिटा का क्वेश्चन है क्या होता है अबिटा नॉट द पीपल आर टॉकिंग
बड़ी
अबाउट इट
बड़ी बदमाश चीज होती है. हाँ.
शार्क टैंक में एवरीबॉडी सेज दैट बट अभी तक किसी फैशन अपैरल कंपनी से नहीं सुनने को मिल रहा है सो आई वांट टू हियर फ्रॉम यू इफ यू कैन एक्सप्लेन व्हाट इज EBITDA एंड हाउ वी कैन कीप अ पॉजिटिव EBITDA क्या होता है पर वो दूसरा क्वेश्चन है पहले व्हाट इज EBITDA
Yeah, so EBITDA is one of the metric to look at the health of your business and if you are a healthy business or not a healthy business, etc. So I think if you look at the line item of financial metric, first comes gross margin, which is essentially nothing but your sales minus discount minus taxes.
ठीक है
Minus COGS, which is your product. सो अगर 100 रुपये का MRP है, उसमें अगर आपको 25 रुपये का कॉग्स हो गया, या 10 रुपये की टैक्स हो गया, या डिस्काउंट हो गया, वो सब अगर आप हटा दें
वो
तो आपको
35 रुपये हो गए,
35,
तो
40,
100
50
में
वट एवर
50
हुआ.
रुपये हो गए, उसमें से 50 रुपये आपका ग्रॉस मार्जिन, ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट है।
So that is a gross profit.
ठीक
That's
है,
your first financial metric.
ठीक है,
And that financial metric is dependent on two things largely. Two, I would say, variables. One is discount and one is product cost.
ठीक है,
जितना product cost और discount कम करोगे उतना gross margin better होगा.
ठीक है,
Correct? So that's one. या फिर डिस्काउंट कम करके प्रोडक्ट कॉस्ट बढ़ाओ, ताकि आप प्रोडक्ट में ज़्यादा घी शक्कर डालें,
ठीक है,
ताकि वो डिस्काउंट कम करना पड़े.
ठीक है।
सो वेरियस बिजनेस विल हैव टू मेक द डिसीजंस.
तो इस तरह से आप ग्रॉस ग्रॉस
ग्रॉस
प्रॉफिट,
मार्जिन,
हाँ,
ग्रॉस मार्जिन के बाद होता है सेलेक्स, विच इज योर सेलिंग एक्सपेंसेस.
ठीक है,
तो जो भी आपके सेलिंग एक्सपेंसेस हैं,
ठीक है,
लॉजिस्टिक, वेयर हाउस, मार्जिन, रेंटल, बत्ती, इंश्योरेंस, सैलरी ऑफ द फ्रंट एंड,
ओके,
जो दुकान में बेचने एक्सेट्रा, ऑल दैट इज कॉल्ड सेलिंग एक्सपेंसेस.
ठीक है,
उसमें ओपेक्स आ जाता है, सेलिंग एक्सपेंसेस आ जाते हैं एक्सेट्रा. वो आप हटा दे तो आता है समथिंग कॉल्ड कंट्रीब्यूशन
कंट्रीब्यूशन,
बिफोर एडवर्टाइजिंग, CBA.
CBA, ओके,
So this is contribution before advertising.
ठीक है,
Right? After contribution before advertising comes advertising cost, salaries and overheads.
ओके, ये तीन चीजें और अब आ गई, ठीक है,
तो जब ये आप हटा दें, जो आपके फिक्स कॉस्ट्स हैं, ओवरहेड्स हो गए, सैलरीज हो गए एक्सेट्रा, एंड देन एडवर्टाइजिंग हटा दिया, तब आपका आता है एबिटा.
ओके, ओके। तो ये जो शार्क टैंक में एबिटा क्यों पूछते रहते हैं? क्या सच्ची में इसकी बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत है लोगों को?
Your business, if you look at everything that is under your control,
हाँ हाँ,
is before EBITDA.
अच्छा, इज बिफोर एबिटा,
So you can influence your COGS, you can influence your discount, you can influence your selects, you can make a decision on salaries and size of the team, etc. How do you bring efficiency, all of
ठीक है,
that,
हाँ.
and that finally delivers EBITDA. So EBITDA, I think, is a signifier of how sound is your leadership,
हाँ, ओके, ओके,
and are the decisions that is being made is right, etc. All of that. So that EBITDA is I think it is a key indicator of the way the business is run.
ओके। तो इसमें पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव का मतलब क्या है? पॉजिटिव क्या, कितना पॉजिटिव हो सकता है, लाइक नंबर वाइज, और इट्स जस्ट सेड पॉजिटिव और
It's
नेगेटिव?
percentage, right?
परसेंटेज, हाँ,
So I think a large size business, which is, let's say, a mass business, business that offers low prices but high volume, could operate at a lower percentage EBITDA, could be under 10% or a 10% EBITDA. But let's say a slightly more premium niche, size is small of the business, there you may need to have higher EBITDA percentage. So,
and this percentage would be what?
so in apparel, with my experience, I can tell you that brands which are ahead of 20% EBITDA are brands really valued.
Okay.
They'll be very, very healthy. There are very few brands, unfortunately,
Okay, 20 plus.
that'll be 20+% EBITDA.
Okay.
And
something which is 10%, what conclusion do investor make, or
so
somebody makes?
in my experience, I think a 10% EBITDA is a decent EBITDA, not great, but a 10% EBITDA is a decent EBITDA. You can count on your fingers the number of brands will have 10% plus EBITDA in the country right now.
Okay.
So, but it's a decent EBITDA. But you would say that this is the brand that's sitting on the fence can improve.
And is it related to the P&L?
It is one of the P&L item.
Okay.
So when you look at the P&L item, which is MRP, gross margin, CBA, EBITDA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And if your EBITDA is positive,
Yeah.
that means you will have profit.
That means you're making money.
That means you're making money. Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. So the EBITDA positive mean you are profitable.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you are not asking for the bottom line, you're just asking for EBITDA. उससे पता चल जाता है कि
EBITDA is your bottom line.
अच्छा EBITDA is your bottom line.
Yeah.
Okay, अब मुझे एक बात बताओ, ये जो यू नो किसी भी कंपनी के
EBITDA के नीचे आता है ऑपरेटिंग कैश फ्लो,
ऑपरेटिंग कैश फ्लो,
which is आपके पास कैश कितना अवेलेबल है टू ऑपरेट द बिजनेस and so on and so forth. So they are, you know, far deeper indicator of health of the business.
ओके
EBITDA is the current profitability of the business as we stand today.
ओके एज यू स्टैंड टुडे. ओके
Yeah. So for example, the inventory, EBITDA will not tell you the health of the inventory.
ओके ओके
Yeah.
ओके एंड फॉर दैट
But if you're sitting on a bad inventory,
हाँ
your EBITDA tomorrow can deteriorate.
ओके ओके
Because
सो EBITDA विल चेंज. जैसे एक
so-
महीने के बाद ही एकदम से EBITDA नेगेटिव दिख रहा है.
हो सकता है बिकॉज आपका जो इन्वेंट्री है वो अगर बिक नहीं रहा है, सो दैट्स क्रिएटिंग बैड डेट्स.
ठीक है
So your ability to pay to your suppliers, etc., all of that. So EBITDA is current, is as of today.
correct. Okay, okay. Now one thing is having a healthy cash flow. Usually fashion businesses में काफ़ी सारे pitfall होने की वजह से and also the fashion business is also like a wave. एकदम एक टाइम पर बहुत बिकती है चीज़ें, फेस्टिव के अराउंड बहुत चीज़ें बिकेंगी, फिर उसके बाद डंप आएगा, फिर
Yeah.
दोबारा से. तो कंपनी के अंदर हेल्दी कैश फ्लो रखने के लिए व्हाट आर द एडवाइस यू विल गिव टू पीपल दैट दे शुड प्लान और
So, see, the cash flow is basically a resultant of, uh, uh, I would say, how much money you owe and how much money somebody owes to you,
गॉट दैट.
right? The difference between that. So, so basically, it's related to inventory, right? If you make something and the cost of production, if you have deployed the cash initially
करेक्ट.
and you sell the product after so many days, the the money that you're able to generate should be able to cover the holding cost, the interest cost,
ओके
and the salaries and everything to be to make you profitable, right? Now, cash flow is nothing but I think is something that how much cash you have available to be able to do business, right? Um, smart businesses work on uh, ensuring that there is no cash deployed from their side into the business. So, for example, like you saw something and you pay the supplier in let's say 90 days,
अच्छा ठीक है.
but you're able to sell goods in 60 days and realize the money there and then pay the supplier. Now, for supplier to hold their payment for 90 days, you'll have to give them interest. Correct?
ओके
And all of this must be calculated into the MRP of the product that you will decide to sell, and therefore the multiplier.
गॉट दैट.
So that's there. So if you make something that doesn't sell, or if you make something in excess,
करेक्ट.
all of this will become very detrimental to your cash flow.
गॉट
So that can choke your cash.
Okay, okay, got that. And what is financial forecasting? क्या होता है और कैसे कर सकते हैं उसको?
I'm not sure what is financial forecasting, but I think I think you're asking budgeting. So what we do is that budgeting is a very rhythmic thing. It's a ritual that happens every year. So we have to put a budget. We have to look at micro and macroeconomics. We have to forecast consumption and look at कि यार देखो इस बार ना दिवाली में इतना कंजम्पशन होगा या नहीं होगा, दिवाली की डेट्स कब हैं, ठंड आएगी नहीं आएगी, अगर ठंड जल्दी आ गई तो क्या होगा, ऑल ऑफ दैट, कितने वेडिंग्स हैं इस साल, वेडिंग डेट्स क्या हैं और किस समय हैं. सो डिपेंडिंग ऑन ऑल ऑफ दीज calendar events, you decide a consumption cycle or consumption forecast. Once you do that, you create your sales plan.
ठीक है
Basis that you create a budget, right?
ठीक है
And therefore, once you create the budget, which is the top line budget, which is the sale that you'll generate, you also create a certain plan on the investments that you will make to the brand, right? Maybe this is a year where you think that you want to advertise more. This is a year where you think that you want to go silent. And that also depends on a lot of, factors. Basis that you create a forecast
Got that.
that hum har quarter, and then you review that forecast every quarter. That's very critical to be able to stay on course.
Now I want to ask you, एक दो terms होते हैं, merchant range plan and assortment plan.
Yeah.
दोनों में क्या फर्क है?
I think different organizations use it very liberally and differently. I think range plan or assortment plan, as far as I'm concerned, my experience is the same thing.
Okay.
There's something called merchandise grid.
Merchandise grade, वो क्या है?
So merchandise grid is something that the product managers make, and that grid essentially have all the elements of product, which is pricing, attributes of products, is brick wise. So it's a half sleeve brick, half sleeve regular fit, how many options,
Okay,
at what
three
price.
colorways or
So three
even
colorways,
fits? Even fits?
even fits. So it's a cross of everything. It's a matrix, and that comes from a lot of data. If you're running business, you have data available at your stake. That Hyderabad में slim fit jeans, ankle length, इतनी बिकती है.
जी.
करेक्ट. तो आपके पास दुकान है तो आपके पास डेटा है. राजस्थान में रेगुलर फिट inseam 34 sells so much, and this doesn't sell, that doesn't sell. So basis that you're able to create a whole grid that what is eventually your requirement.
ठीक
So
है.
that you do.
ये कब बनाते हैं?
We normally do it 4 times in a year, and we review this every week.
Okay, so we means who?
The team.
And the team
So, for
means-
example, the team in the company. So the person who is responsible is the planner.
ठीक
So
है.
the planning head, the product team, the buying team, and the design team. But this information is taken and then given to the design team.
Okay,
So we review this every week, and the retail operations team. So this is a very important ritual, a weekly ritual.
Okay.
For our business, that every week you see that assortment grid that you had made, the merchandise grid that you made, which eventually delivers assortment grid or range plan for every channel.
Okay.
Because the merchandise grid is a very central grid that you make, and then it services MBA also, retail also, key accounts also. So all the buyers of different channel
वो assortment plan में आएंगे.
will create their own assortment plan.
Okay. So you have an umbrella,
Yeah.
merchandise grid का,
Yeah.
and then हर एक जगह के लिए जो assortment बन रही है,
Correct.
उसके लिए एक अलग ग्रिड हो.
So let's say मेरा ये स्टोर है. इस स्टोर में मेरे 4 वॉल हैं. 4 वॉल इस डायरेक्शन में, एक टेबल है.
हाँ.
तो February 1st to February 15th, on wall number 1, what will go? And if it sells at this rate of sale,
हाँ.
will it move to wall 2? Or will it remain at wall 1?
Okay.
Or will it come to the
Shelf.
table?
हाँ.
Right?
Okay.
Once it moves, what will go there next? And if it doesn't move, what is already in the pipeline that is coming and going to hit will go where?
Okay.
So that is the whole assortment planning.
Okay.
And it's very fertile, right? So once we do that, every channel does it for their own businesses. And this is something that we review every week, which is plan versus deviation. So this was a plan. This is what we had projected.
Correct.
We had projected a sell-through of so much.
हाँ.
And this is what we've achieved.
Correct.
So if there is a deviation, what is there for us to learn?
Oh, okay.
And this happens every week.
Got that.
So this is something that I think the intensity of this at different level is different. So maybe the buyers and the planners are doing it on a daily basis. I am doing it on a weekly basis, and my bosses would do it for a monthly basis.
Okay, like that. All right. So I think mm, the last question that I wanted to ask you was on pricing
Yeah,
the product.
sure.
क्या मेथड होते हैं किसी चीज़ को प्राइस करने के इन इज इट कंपेटिटर को देख के प्राइस होता है या जो आपका पैसा लगा है उसको देख के प्राइस करते हो प्रोडक्ट को क्या अलग अलग तरीके होते हैं प्रोडक्ट को प्राइस करने
Again, I think pricing has to start from consumer and work backwards. So
ठीक है
pricing cannot be, uh, you know, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, hostage to cost.
ओके
So you can't say this is my cost and therefore I will make so much money and that's my pricing. It also always start from this is the pricing of the product and therefore I'll work backwards on the cost, right?
ओके हाँ हाँ
So, and as you rightly said, competition is environment is one of the key aspect that your competition is at this this is the pricing, this is the range, and therefore you need to stay closer to them,
हाँ
right? Um, but I think it also depends on how unique is your product. Are you able to, how much is the wallet share that you'll be able to pull from the consumer?
हाँ
And that depends on product, promotion, uh, penetration, etc. All of those things, right? All of the basic, yeah. So, you should have to look at the competition because you can't be irrelevant, right?
करेक्ट
But if you truly have a differentiated product, and that doesn't mean that suddenly one fine day you had one differentiated product. That doesn't, pricing is a strategy.
ओके
Pricing is not a decision.
हाँ हाँ
Is not a daily decision.
वही पूछ रहा हूँ वो स्ट्रैटेजी क्या है
So pricing is, so first you have to decide that if this is the competition set,
करेक्ट
and which also means that consumer is okay to pay so much for a product like this,
ठीक
and you've
है।
decided your game.
ठीक है
Okay, this is my game, this is the kind of product I want to make, etc. Then fix the pricing,
ठीक
right?
है।
And stay with it. Another important aspect of pricing is that don't have a large range of pricing.
ओके ओके
I don't think brands should start at 200 and go up to 5,000.
ठीक है
It should be very polarized,
ठीक है
so that the consumer segmentation is very clear. A certain kind of consumers come into you and they love you and they become your community and they protect you.
करेक्ट
So that's another aspect of pricing. And then you have to decide that what should be the cost of product to the MRP ratio.
करेक्ट या
So वो 25% प्रोडक्ट कॉस्ट होना चाहिए, 18% प्रोडक्ट कॉस्ट होना चाहिए कि 40% प्रोडक्ट कॉस्ट होना चाहिए.
ठीक है
That you need to decide doing your P&L.
हाँ, अच्छा पीएनएल करते वक्त ओ
So
अच्छा
आपको पता होना, आपको डिसाइड करना पड़ेगा कि मार्केटिंग में कितना खर्च करोगे. What is the percentage of expense that you take in marketing? What is the percentage spent? I think the cost of marketing is swelling with every passing day,
Correct.
right? So what is the cost of Selex? What is the cost of all of that, and then be able to price the product right.
ओके
Now, a lot of times what happens, I've seen the younger, or maybe, maybe if I have to take a pricing decision and I put myself 30 years ago, I would say buffer create कर लेता हूँ यार.
ठीक है
Because मुझे ये सब पता नहीं है कि कितना खर्चा लगेगा,
हाँ
तो
एग्जैक्टली
एक बफर ले लेता हूँ
हाँ
और एक प्राइस कर देता हूँ. I think that's a very casual way of doing business. I think one has to work very, 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 very hard and get all of this sorted first, then jump into the business.
तो इसके लिए कोई जैसे कोई डिजाइनर किसकी हेल्प ले सकता है
You have to talk to mentors, you have to talk to people who are doing it already.
करेक्ट
And then you have to, hire people who are experienced. And therefore, I said there is no replacement for experience. So
सीएस का सीएस यूज कर नहीं
who? No, not CA. CA will
not
be able to tabulate it.
अच्छा
But I think you need people who will be able to tell you, देखो यार ये मार्जिन लगता है, इतना रफली सेल थ्रू आता है,
ठीक है।
ये सब होता है, और marketing cost is a decision that you have to make.
करेक्ट
But there also a young entrepreneur will need to know कि marketing में कितना cost लगाना है. So I think it's important to work with somebody, a mentor, to be able to establish a P&L initially,
Correct.
a P&L plan, and then the quest should be to make it more efficient.
ओके, बिकॉज इंडस्ट्री में ये बात चलती है कि ज़ारा 4.5 से मल्टीप्लाई कर देता है, H&M 3.5 से मल्टीप्लाई कर देता है. क्या वो रियलिटी है कि दैट इज जस्ट अ होक्स?
I think so. I would say I don't know, and I don't have the right to to comment on that or to validate that because I don't work with Zara and I don't know their multipliers. But
But are there multipliers?
yeah, of course, I
Oh,
think so.
there are multipliers which brands are following?
So I think COGS to MRP multiplier for if you want to take a thumb rule for a luxury brand or no bridge to luxury could be around 7-8 times.
ठीक है.
So let's say 10 रुपए का माल बेचा बनाया 70 रुपए में बेचा. Premium brands would be 5 times.
Okay.
So 10 रुपए बनाया या 50 रुपए बेचा. Mid premium brands could be 4 times. 10 रुपए बनाया या 40 रुपए बेचा. Then mass brands, mass retailers could be 2.5 times.
Oh, okay.
Could be 10 रुपए माल बेचा या 25 रुपए बेचा. Now this tells you cost of the product is same, but you're able to command different prices from the consumer because what you offer is not just product.
Yeah.
So when you just offer product, you have to be cheapest.
Okay.
But when you start offering product and quality,
Correct.
you can charge a little more. When you are able to offer product quality and innovation, you're charging even more. Then if you're able to offer product quality, innovation, service, then something else. Product quality, innovation, service and experience. Now the point is, it is very critical to understand what you offer. Once you've understood that what is your hierarchy, then you will be able to build great, trustworthy, transparent, clear communication with the consumer. Then you know what's the game you're playing.
Wow. Wow.
And therefore, your concept of multiplier and everything becomes clear.
That's like, I mean, that is so well put, how to even look at this whole game. Last advice is, I think, what would be your advice for young entrepreneurs when they're starting to look or consider certain aspects of business when they are getting into this game? क्या चीजें होंगी?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I think somebody who has done business should be more qualified to answer this because since I have not, I ran a factory. So yeah, I was also young and an entrepreneur at one point of time. I think they're all pretty simple. I think that, and there are. I can tell you simpler things that I think are valuable, and somebody who runs a business will be able to more qualified to answer this question from a more technical point of view. But I think having a mentor is so critical. When you are starting a business, have outside-in perspective.
ठीक है.
I think एडवाइस लेना, लोगों से पूछना, बहुत सारे लोगों से बात करना बहुत ज़रूरी है before putting that cash into the business, right? So make a great business plan.
Okay.
That should take the highest amount of energy and time.
Okay, business plan.
So having a great plan, because execution is key, right? So having a not a dream. I'm not saying write a dream and spend a lot of time on writing a dream. You should spend very little time on writing a dream. You should have a dream. Should have a great dream, powerful, brave dream. But then spend a lot of time in figuring how to execute it and write that down. So that's called a business plan, right?
Got that.
So spend a lot of time there is I think it's critical because a lot of us, because sometimes we have resources available, we quickly jump into doing something.
Yeah.
Because we think we have lack of time, we quickly jump into doing something. So वो बहुत detrimental होता है. उसमें मतलब आप involve हो जाते हैं और बहुत मेहनत करते हैं और move नहीं कर पाते हैं. Because remember, once the business starts, you will have no time. to look at strategy, to take a break and say that आज मैं सोचता हूँ, सोचने का टाइम नहीं रहेगा, सिर्फ एग्जीक्यूट ही कर रहे होंगे आप।
ठीक है।
तो सोच पहले लीजिए
हाँ हाँ।
और बहुत लोगों से एडवाइस ले लीजिए, ठीक है, और इवेलुएट कीजिए। सो दैट्स इंपॉर्टेंट। अनदर थिंग इज दैट मैनेज योर कैश वेल। Don't in the beginning resist the lust for unnecessary expenses. वो भी ज़रूरी है। Spend money in all good costs. Inventory needs to be looked at. Your most expensive guy should be the guy managing inventory.
अच्छा, ओके।
So look at inventory yourself. Very importantly, I think these are 3 or 4 things.
Okay.
Of course, apart from that, I've already said that the product has to be unique. You have to be brave. The product needs to truly solve a problem. While the product solves truly a problem, you should have the right to play. So it should also be something that you are good at, right?
Correct.
And therefore there's unique proposition, something that has it's even greater if it has क्या बोलते हैं उसको, entry barrier. If everybody can do it, it's not unique.
Got that. Okay.
I think these are few trick of the trades.
Got that. तो ये जो थॉट है एक डिज़ाइनर का कि मेरे पास एक आइडिया है और ये आइडिया मैंने थोड़ी वेट किया तो कोई और कर लेगा इसको एग्जीक्यूट,
हाँ,
उससे अच्छा है कि उस आइडिया के ऊपर आप उसको एग्जीक्यूशन प्लान लिखना इज मच बेटर।
बिल्कुल।
इज अ लॉन्ग टर्म गेम।
बिल्कुल। बट एग्जीक्यूशन प्लान को भी शेख चिल्ली वाला प्लान बता दीजिए कि उस पे बस एग्जीक्यूशन प्लान। I also believe that if you have an idea, there are 10 people already executing it.
Okay.
So don't wait for eternity, for sure, right? Have a great idea, but the only thing I'm saying is have a sense of urgency.
Okay.
But the only thing I'm saying is don't just jump into it without a plan.
Got that.
And that plan being evaluated by experienced professionals. Take advice, seek mentorship. बहुत ज़रूरी है वो, and do it fast. I'm not saying that sit on it, but
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. I think कितना कुछ learn करने को मिला, and we'll be catching up soon again.
absolutely.